Welcome to Podcast of All Podcasts. Enjoy best moments of podcast history.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, Wet Sand.
My shadow side so amplified keeps coming back dissatisfied. Elementary son, but it's so my love affair with everywhere was innocent. Why do you care? Someone start the car, time to go. You're the best I know. My sunny side is up and died. I'm betting now when we collide, the universe will shift into a low. The travesties that we have seen are treating me like Ben's a dream. Automatic laughter from a pro. My, what a good day for a walk outside. I like to get to know you a little better, baby. God knows that I really
Marc Maron with Jep Ross.
But I remember, we used to go over to the Ukrainian place, the Kiev.
I still do. Oh,
The
well,
Kiev's
not the
gone.
Kiev, but Veselka's.
I go to Veselka's too, but like the Kiev was sort of the place. It was like me and you and Louie and Todd and Sarah and Attell. That was like the joint. It was kind of dirty, not as good as a Veselka, but I don't think the Veselka was open 24 hours at that time.
We would commiserate.
Sure, yeah,
Miserable commiserate. Is that part of that word?
sure. And I would say things like, how'd you get into catch? Why'd you get past?
I bought a vest for Lewis. I bought him a present.
Did you?
And then when my grandfather died, he gave me like a little pep talk. He's like, now it's time for you. You got to think about you for a little while.
Huh.
So I was taking care of my grandfather in
You
New
did?
Jersey. And, yeah, and I thought about those days recently because they were like cutting funding for Meals on Wheels. And I remember taking the bus into New York every day from New Jersey, and then Meals on Wheels would check in on my grandpa.
Yeah.
They'd bring him a hot meal.
Yeah.
And make sure he's alive for the next 12 hours while I was trying to find work in New York, trying to get on stage, trying to start my life.
How old were you?
23, 4.
So you grew up in Jersey?
Yeah.
What part?
Newark, Union,
Oh, really?
and Springfield.
Oh, yeah? And you got like a sister, right? I kind of have bits and pieces.
My sister Robin,
Yeah.
she's a special ed teacher up in Washington State.
So what were you doing in there? What kind of family situation? What'd your old man do?
My dad, my grandfather, my uncles, everyone in my family was a caterer. Everyone. My great-grandmother Rose, who I'm technically named after, Ross, was a very rare female business owner back in the 40s and 50s.
Uh-huh.
Clinton Manor Caterers.
Clinton Manor.
I worked there every summer. I worked there every weekend, all through junior high and high school and even parts of college.
She owned that?
Yeah.
And they do events?
They would do weddings and bar mitzvahs and trade shows and that kind of thing. Kosher.
Yeah. Oh, it was kosher.
And back when people were having big kosher weddings.
Really?
And then I worked in the coat room as a kid, and then made meatballs and wound up feeding the help and working in the parking lot. And once I got to college, I was like, I don't think I'm going to be a caterer. I think I'm going to try something else.
You're going to break the tradition?
Yeah.
So was your dad the last one?
My dad and my cousin.
Of the Lift Schultz caterers?
When my dad passed away, it basically became my cousins, and his heart wasn't in it really. And it kind of
I remember
fell
you
off.
telling me about your dad passing away. Because I remember, like, the one time we had this conversation. I can't remember. It must have been down in front of the Boston. I think I was all worked up because I didn't understand. You were driving some fancy car, like a Dodge Viper, maybe?
What a memory.
Is that true?
Yeah.
But, all right, so when did your dad pass away?
Well, he died when I was in college.
What happened?
Yeah, he did cocaine.
Oh, yeah? Living the life?
He had a good time. Had a cerebral hemorrhage. Was in a coma for a few days. Came home from BU. And, that was it.
That was it? And your mom's been gone for a while, right?
Yeah. She'd already been gone 5 years.
Wow, man. So you were kind of just you and your sis, huh?
Yep. Still is. We have a good family, and
yeah,
we're okay. We all get together quite often. I just got a beach house at the Jersey Shore for a couple weeks this summer.
Really?
25 of us will pile into that.
The cousins and everything?
Aunt and uncle and cousins. And
you all so tight. That's great.
We do it for real.
Do you feel connected to Jersey? I mean, like you're...
I feel connected to the people.
Yeah.
I don't know if I feel connected to the state.
Right, but you feel you're Jersey.
Yeah.
Like when you were in high school, were you a Bruce guy?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But I feel like I would have been a Bruce guy no matter where I was from or wherever he was from. I think
it was in the stars.
I learned a lot about performing, I think, watching those early Bruce shows. You know how he goes fast and then he goes slow, then he gets two fast ones, then he goes slow.
What did you learn exactly?
Just showmanship.
Just to stay slow?
Just to mix it up and keep the audience surprised and the intimacy, even in a big theater like that.
Sure.
And just that you could stay true to yourself, and we all aspire to have that kind of.
I think that's a good observation.
Impact on their audience.
I think him in particular is unique to that himself. Like, it feels earnest, it feels real, you feel special to be there, and he really turns it out. Like, it took me a long time to appreciate it. I think I appreciate it more now because I talk to him.
Yeah.
You know?
It was a great interview, and he also talked about how, you can open up on stage where maybe you can't open up off stage so easy, and that was a good breakthrough, and I think that's why a lot of us get drawn to the stage. It's
weird, right? Our lives off stage are just a mess, and then on stage maybe you're not. You always seem kind of chipper.
I'm doing okay. I have my moments.
Yeah? What are they like? Are they crying moments or yelling moments?
I think the worst I ever got was probably a year ago. I came home from a road gig, and I just wasn't happy for some reason. And I grabbed a baseball bat and just started slamming the bed.
Oh, really?
Beating my bed.
You didn't want to risk breaking anything.
Yeah.
But that's good. Did it feel good?
It felt cathartic.
Yeah.
But I think for pretty much I'm pretty even-tempered.
Yeah, I feel that from you. So you grow up in Jersey, you're doing the catering. Now, did you see stand-up at the catering hall? Where did you see your first stand-up? Like, who were your guys early on?
I had no idea.
Nothing.
I didn't know what any of that was.
You didn't know the Jew comics?
No. I heard their voices on Johnny Carson because my parents would watch it, and I'd be upstairs trying to listen.
Huh.
But I didn't know from the old-time comics.
Because, I was so into them when I was a kid. And you're only a couple years younger than me. Like, I would watch Buddy Hackett and Rickles, all the guys that you got to know later, which I envy, but they were the guys I watched when I was a kid, and I loved them. Jackie Vernon.
Yeah, I didn't know until later. And everyone said, well, you must have been influenced by them. It wasn't. It wasn't like that for me. I was influenced by the rock star comics. Eddie Murphy, Blues Brothers, Steve Martin, Cheech and Chong. I didn't even know that was comedy. I just thought that was the same as, I bought their albums the same way I bought Kiss or Boston or stuff like that. So I didn't know about the tuxedo comics until I was meeting them.
But you didn't know about the culture of stand-up. You didn't really acknowledge that there were this world of stand-ups.
No, I had no idea. It was alien to me. I thought to be a comic, I would have to be like the guys I'd seen pictures of or on Johnny Carson, like, Hackett, Rickles, those guys. But I didn't feel a connection to them until later.
But you didn't know their work even.
Right. And it's weird, like people wonder about that because of the roasts and did you know those guys? It was more like I felt like I'd met guys I should have known my whole life.
Well, I mean, I feel that too about you, because I remember when we were coming up in the late 80s and early 90s, everybody had their own unique thing, and you weren't really doing insult comedy at all.
No.
You were doing observational stuff, kind of long formish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stories and poems
Well, the poems came later though.
Yeah.
That was later, dude.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? I mean, it was just straight up observational comedy at a very deliberately slow pace.
I didn't know what I was doing. I was a film major in college and a political science minor trying to
At
go.
BU?
Yeah.
Were we there together? No.
You're a little bit ahead of me, maybe. But, I was still running the radio station. I was a music director and a DJ. And
at BU?
Played in a punk band.
You did?
Yeah. I became a political science minor, and I went to Russia with my class. And
with political science?
Yeah.
What'd you do in Russia?
I wound up looking around. It was during the refuseniks. I remember, meeting with refuseniks and sneaking their art back to America, thinking I was doing something really cool and special.
What'd you bring back?
Just these guys, there was a real problem for artists, and Jews were scared, I remember. And I just remember, going to a couple of houses and poking around and meeting people, and I was a kid, but I was also curious and also fearless. My dad had just died. I had nothing to do that Christmas.
Yeah.
My sister was with her friends for Christmas. So I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to go to Russia, the Soviet Union, in the winter, and find out about vodka and eggnog and everything else that we were trying to...
That was it. Everything else. Vodka and eggnog and the big list after that.
I just remember doing those two drinks for the first time in my life. I remember it was just super exciting to be in a foreign country, completely unleashed. Didn't have to worry about calling home or disappointing anyone. Or my life became very unhinged in a series of happy accidents after
Russia,
after death.
Yeah,
you go, all right. Well, I guess I can do whatever I want. This is kind of
no
crazy.
Parents.
No one to tell me this isn't a good idea. But I also didn't have the support to.
Right. What, your grandparents didn't step in or anything?
They were all gone. I had the one grandfather who
Really?
Took care of it.
So that is kind of bizarre. Like you're sort of orphaned at 19 or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're still not completely grown up.
Right.
Wow.
I don't know if I ever grew up.
Yeah, I'm not sure I did either.
Look at us.
I know we're doing okay for children.
It is crazy. I do think sometimes, like, I never feel old and I never feel young. I always felt this way since I'm 15.
You know what I think has something to do with that with us? We have no children.
Must be part of it.
I think, you have children, you're like, it's happening. If they're getting taller, I'm getting older.
Right.
But we're just suspended in some strange non-growth thing, emotionally or otherwise. But, all right, so when did comedy start? So you go to Russia, you come back a changed man, you've drunk eggnog?
It's just more like experiences. The following year, I think I went off to Scotland with another college buddy.
Joe Rogan with Jay Leno.
Yeah. But other than that, fine.
Well, the funny thing about movies is, whether you're the good guy or the bad guy, the punch is always thrown from the perspective of the person throwing the punch. I've never seen a movie where the punch is coming at you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's always over the shoulder. So as the viewer, you're always throwing the punch. That always makes – I want to see a movie where the punch is coming and hitting you in the face while you're sitting there in the theater.
Yeah.
You don't really get that, but yeah.
Where you can see the sparks and what it happens when the punches hit your face.
Yeah,
you get
that's my
light
favorite
show.
That's my favorite thing about these superhero movies. You see the superhero, he punches a car, and the car folds up like an accordion, and then he punches the other superhero, and the guy goes, "Oh man, yeah." Well, now, why didn't his face get crushed like the car just did? I don't quite understand it.
Because it's a movie, Jay.
It's a movie,
it's not real life.
Exactly.
Just a little escape, sort of like the Tonight Show.
It's kind of like that. Yeah, exactly.
You left on top. Like that is rare that someone leaves number
No,
one. Usually
everybody-
they want to keep you around.
Everybody left the Tonight Show when it was number one. Steve Allen left when it was number one. Jack Parr left when it was number one. Johnny left when it was number one. I left when it was number one.
Do you miss it at all?
No.
No.
I-
You had your time. You enjoyed it.
I love doing it. There's a point in your life where, at my age, I shouldn't have to know all of Jay-Z's music, okay? You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I can't pretend to know Common and Akon and everybody's music. I just don't. It's,
Notice how you brought up a lot of black guys there.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. But I grew up in the era of Paul Simon and Marvin Gaye and all those. It's more my era. When you're 20, when you're 42 and you're talking to a 25-year-old supermodel, oh, it's sexy. When you're 64, you're like the creepy old guy. Okay?
Right.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I mean, it's true. I go, so where do you go to school? What am I going to say to you? Okay? I'm like 40 years older than you are. What am I going to say to you? So you just have to know when it's time to step aside.
But your demeanor, what your excitement level, how natural it is when you're doing your car show is very different. And I think people would. I think there's two Jay Lenos. There's the Jay Leno that hosts the Tonight Show, which is a great entertainer. You're a great interviewer. But then there's you in your element when you're hosting Jay's Garage.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. I enjoy being around show business as opposed to being immersed in it. Like, to me, Charlie Sheen's a friend of mine. I enjoy every time another hooker pushes one of Charlie's Mercedes off Mulholland Drive, I get a kick out of it like everybody else. I don't want to be Charlie. I don't want to live that life, but I enjoy hearing about it and observing Charlie when he comes to the show. Charlie, how you doing, man? Oh, Jay, whatever it might be. So the Tonight Show is great that way. I didn't have to actually be there. I could be a part of it without being a part of it,
Right.
Because I'm not really a party guy. I'm not a drug guy. I'm not an alcohol guy. It's just not what I do. I enjoy observing it. Whereas with cars, it's what I really do. Cars, motorcycles, I really enjoy. So I am immersed in that. Whereas with show business, I enjoy being around it. That's probably the difference.
But you still do stand-up, so you're still...
Oh, yeah, I'm on the road all the time. I love doing stand-up. That's the greatest.
So you're still in show business.
Oh, yeah, I'm still in show business, yeah.
But you're not in that show business. See, it's like comics think of stand-up as being very different than all the other aspects of show business.
Well, it is different than all the other aspects of show business because it's the only one where you don't need any other aspects of show business. I mean, I got started when I was in Boston. I would go into bars with a $50 bill, and I would say, I'm a comedian. We don't hire comedians. I go, look, here's $50. Let me go on the stage and tell some jokes. If people leave, you keep my 50. If I do okay and I get some laughs, give me my money back. All right, it cost me about $300 over the long run. But for the most part, it was either, yeah, kid, you're funny. Here's your money back, but we don't really do it. Or, oh, that was okay. Yeah, come back Wednesday. We got back then they had hootenanny nights. It was folk singers. Stop your war machine, all those kind of songs. and they put a comic on in between. And that's the one thing about comedy. You can take it and do it anywhere. I mean, we both know actors that are great, that are funny, but if their TV show gets canceled or the movie's no good,
they're fucked.
Or the director, it's like they're out of work. They can't go down to a bar and pass the hat and tell jokes or even negotiate a salary. So comedy is different because it's self-sustaining.
Hootenanny night.
Yeah, that's what we used to call it in Boston.
Really?
Hootenanny night. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you really did that. You would go, is that your idea to put a $50 bill in the bar?
Yeah, because that's, I was lucky when I started. I'd never met another comic. I didn't know anything about show business. I grew up in you're Boston. You're from Boston, rather. And I remember the neighbor lady saying to me, you can't be a comedian unless your father was a comedian. That's the way it is out there. Unless your father was a comedian, you can't be one. They won't let you do it. And I thought, well, it doesn't make any sense. So I used to just go around bars and places like that in Boston, and I thought I was doing pretty good. I really wasn't, but to me, I thought it was pretty good. I got my start at a place called Lenny's on the Turnpike up in Route 1 near Saugus.
I know where that is.
Yeah, I used to play Lenny's all the time. And Lenny made me kind of the house comic, and I got to work with Miles Davis, Mose Allison, all the great jazz artists.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's where Giggles is in Saugus. There's
is there a
comedy
Giggles
club
there?
Up there in a pizza place, Prince's Pizza.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Mike Clark's joint.
That makes me laugh.
Lenny Clark's brother.
Oh, is that Lenny's brother? I love Lenny Clark.
I love him too.
The funniest guy. He really, and a true Boston comedian. I never consider myself a Boston comedian because I was born in New York and I moved to Boston when I was like 10. Like my family moved there in 59 and we're still the new people. The new people, the Lenos, they came here in 59. The other people have been there since 1641. Right, exactly. So they're the relatively new people.
Did they have open mic nights back then?
No, there was no such thing as open mic. This is before comedy clubs. The comedy clubs didn't exist.
What year did you start?
I started in 1969.
Wow.
And I used to work strip joints. I used to work, you remember the Combat Zone in Boston?
Sure, yeah.
I used to work all those strip joints. I remember I teamed up with two strippers, Lily Pagan and Inita Mann. That was her name. And they were like 40 years old. And they weren't prostitutes. They were working class women, big Boston women with short hair that would wear wigs, and we would drive out to Fort Devens to do a show for the soldiers. They'd be there with drills and power tools, and she'd put together this what do you call that, clear plastic, the heavy plexiglass bathtub, and she would take a bath, like a stripper, and so and they were tough women. And I was like 19, and they were like 40. And one day we're out there doing a show, and she's in the bathtub, doing those kind of stuff. And I'm on stage just telling jokes and so. And some guy just starts heckling me. And I remember she gets out of the bathtub, walks over, grabs the guy by the neck, punches him in the face, breaks the guy's nose. The guy goes down. The crowd is cheering. She goes, "You leave the kid alone." And then she gets back in the tub and starts doing all the gyrations. I mean, it was hilarious. It was hilarious.
Wow.
Oh, it was a great time. And they were really nice women. They weren't hookers. These are women that back then, being a typist or a secretary, that's really what was available to you as a woman if you were not a college-educated woman, or a waitress or something like that. So that's what they did. They had the car with their, stripper insignia on the side. I need a man, and, a kind of a dolled-up picture of themselves painted on the fender. And we'd just drive around, and I would MC and introduce the girls, and they would come out and do their act, But they were very protective of me because I was like a kid.
Wow.
So, it was really fun.
That's got to be a cool memory.
Oh, yeah.
Starting out like that is so much more difficult than the standard signed up at the open mic night. I started in '88. It was just they'd have Stitches, would have an open mic night. You go there, you sign up, and you'd get on three out of 4 weeks.
The comedy boom is fairly new. Fairly new. I mean, when I started, I used to go to I went to the Improv in New York in '69. And the Improv then, Bud would always say, okay, 4 singers, then you. Because it was all Broadway singers. That's all the way. There really wasn't a lot of people that wanted to be comedians. Because most comedians in the mid to late 60s were middle-aged Jewish guys. Like Rodney, Alan King. The first new young comics were like Robert Klein, Richie Pryor, George Carlin. Don't forget
Richie Pryor.
Yeah, I
That's
knew.
what you used to call him, Richie?
No, I knew Richie. Yeah.
Wow, but Richie. I've never heard him say Richie Pryor.
You got to remember, in New York City, up to about 66, 67, you got what they call a cabaret card, which was a license. You had a license to be an entertainer. Wow. And if you used a 4-letter word on stage, a cop could come in, pull your license, tear it up. You didn't work. You could not work. Lenny Bruce really helped break that because Lenny went to trial for that. That's what he's arrested for. He's just doing his act. He used to do a bit about if you don't like black women, who would you rather have sex with, Lena Horne or Kate Smith? Well, Kate Smith was an enormous woman at the time, and it was a funny joke. That's racist. Oh, that's whatever. You can't do that. And I remember a cop.
Gilbert Gottfried with Richard Belzer.
What do you remember about it?
That I used to like go on stage and I would imitate Jerry Seinfeld, and he was like totally unknown at the time.
Yeah, and he was imitating Larry David.
Oh yeah,
so you're going 3rd generation.
But I would do a Jerry Seinfeld imitation,
for instance,
and I remember it was like. The audience and the other comedians would all run in. The bartenders and waitresses would be laughing hysterically in the back when I was imitating Seinfeld. And Seinfeld would get pissed off, and he'd stay in the bar pacing back and forth going, that doesn't sound anything like me. Why does he make me sound like I have a sing-song voice?
Richard, Rick was telling me that he was so impressed when he first met you as your ad-libbing ability, and he said it was an interesting analogy. He said it was love at first sight, like actually a lightning bolt hit him, like when you meet a girl, which I found interesting. And you became the MC. You became the regular MC there.
Bill Mayer, remember that other MC, Gilbert?
Oh,
Bill Maher, not Bill Maher, but Bill Mayhew or Bill. That's how great he was. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
there was a Bill Maru.
Bill Maru,
that's the guy.
And Bill Maru. Wait, Richard.
Yes.
Very important.
Yes.
He sang a song that he wrote, and I remember it to this day.
That he wrote?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
what was it? Let me hear it.
Make me laugh and make me cry. Make me live until I die.
No way.
That's the way, baby, tenderly. Let me love you forever. I'm so happy that there is someone who'll give me love in return. Ba 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 ba.
Now, did he do it seriously?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
There's the tragedy.
That was going to be his big hit.
Bill Maru?
Yes.
My God. And remember Larry Ragland, Oliver Shaw?
Oh, yeah, he's become a fixture on this show.
So we've talked about Larry.
I thought I saw a dummy in the window.
Finish the line.
It was you.
But it was you.
Wearing a new dress as usual. Trying to look your best. Impossible.
Richard,
he's no longer with us.
No.
Did we lose Larry Ragland?
Yes.
Yeah. OTWHF. out the window head first. But, ladies and gentlemen.
Rick said you had a bit, Richard, where you used to take ladies' purses and pocketbooks and just go through them on stage and riff.
Yeah, cute story about that. I was in San Diego working a club in Phoenix, and Robin Williams was in town doing a much bigger venue, obviously. But he came to see me. But before he came, I had come out on stage, and there was a guy in the audience with a backpack. And I said, let me see that. And I grabbed it, and I started rummaging through it and riffing and doing jokes about the guy's address book and, all this stuff that I found in there. And, like 5 minutes, 6 minutes, which is a long time, to do something on that. Anyway, so later, Robin shows up, and I saw him, and he came up on stage, and he didn't see me do the backpack bit, but I see him go for it. I go, shit, what's he going to do? Then he does like 20 brilliant minutes on the backpack. There was another night where I was at the Comedy Store, and I got a woman's purse, and there was a joint in it. And I lit it up, and I started smoking it on stage, and Richard Pryor came on after me and said, you see my man Richard? Shit, smoking that shit. But, purse, well, Gilbert's a good ad-libber, too. I mean, if you find, I don't believe in I just believe in finding things, Gilbert, unfortunately, has to bring a ton of shitty props on stage. He's a fucking circus act. But aside from that, yes.
Are you still doing the bit with the trays, Gil, and the Mickey Mouse?
See, but those started...
Funny is money.
Yep.
Those started when I was at the clubs,
right.
And these big serving trays would always be around that the waitresses...
That the waitresses used, right.
So I would just grab them and see what would pop into my head at the time.
Right. See, that's what I mean about finding something and then turning into something else, and that's kind of riding on your feet.
And I remember they had a bookcase at Catch Rising Star in the back of the stage.
Yes.
And I used to pick stuff out of there.
Uh-huh.
And
remember Andy Kaufman would start reading F. Scott Fitzgerald novel. What was it?
The Gatsby.
What?
The Great Gatsby.
He started reading The Great Gatsby, like, in Hollywood at the Improv, and kept reading it until like half the audience left. Just read the fucking thing for like 10, 15 minutes, and
I remember I saw Andy Kaufman go up on stage at the Improv, and he started going, 100 bottles of beer on the wall, 100 bottles of beer. And at first they were laughing. And then he did the entire 100 bottles of beer on the wall. And people were screaming and cursing.
One time he came out on stage and unrolled a sleeping bag and got in it and just went to sleep.
Now, do you remember how Larry David used to get into fights on stage?
With the audience?
Yes.
Well, I mean, one time, and this is a semi-famous story where I think Lily Tomlin was in the audience, and somebody was heckling him, and he said something like, "Yeah, why don't you put newspapers down when you have your period," or something like that.
Wow.
Do you remember that?
I remember one time Larry David was on stage, and he got into a fight with somebody in the audience.
Right.
And this guy goes, "Your mother fucks my dog." And Larry goes, "Oh, yeah? Well, I bet your dog doesn't like it."
You remember he used to do the thing about going to court for masturbating?
Oh, yes.
Like, he did it on, I had him do it on Hot Properties, and it was like 18 minutes long. And then it was like they get his mother on the stand, and the prosecuting attorney goes, "Mrs. David, have you ever been to Israel?" Answer the question, have you ever been to Israel? Bail me out whenever you want. I don't mind bombing with other people's material. Doesn't hurt me at all.
Now, I also remember you in the old days.
Right.
When you opened for Fanny Bryce.
He was very nice to me, by the way.
Fanny Bryce.
Before you would go on stage, you would, inhale an entire can of whipped cream.
Well, I don't remember that, but I don't deny it. No, yeah, you know what? I used to do that at Catch, The Chinese cooks would put the can out for me. They thought I was insane. And that was the place where if you went in the kitchen and yelled immigration, you caused quite a stir. That's jokes from the 50s. But, I used to, do a shot. What's in that? Nitrous something or other? I would do a shot of it because in reality, I think we're all a little bit terrified of going on, even, So anyway, I'm just making an excuse for getting high and going on.
Speaking of Rob
wasn't terrified
that
at all.
explains the heroin and cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. It was all artistically related.
Speaking of Robin Williams, Richard, you and Robin used to do a doo-wop thing when Belushi would do Joe Cocker? Did you do a backup singer thing?
Yeah, Robin. Yeah, there was one time I remember where Belushi and I were singing doo-wop and Robin was signing it, which is pretty funny.
Stephen King.
What kind of books do you write? Well, if you ask the ordinary run-of-the-mill reader, if there is such a guy or such a gal, I guess that I write horror novels. I think that what I actually write are suspense novels.
What's the difference?
I think that the purpose of the horror novel is to sort of gross you out. My idea of it is, and I'm not averse to this, I will do this, it's part of the fun of it, is it's kind of it's a childish thing, the way that humor is. The two things are closely allied. They both elicit, when they work to their best, a vocal reaction from the audience. Laughter if it's comedy, and a scream or a yell if it's horror. But they're both childish, and it's kind of like when you're a kid and you're sitting at the dining room table and you want to get to your sister or your brother, you kind of chew up your food and then you hang your mouth open like that.
Yes.
That's horror. Suspense is a little more high class than that, so maybe that's why
My mother
I
used
prefer
to
the
say
word.
that was tasteless.
That's tasteless, yeah, that's right. Well, my mother, when I was a kid, used to say, Stephen, your taste is all in your mouth. And that's true, but it has made me relatively wealthy.
Yes, it has. Not even relatively. Very.
But I have a lot of relatives,
Yeah.
so.
Do you know where it all comes from? I mean, it comes out of your imagination, but why this for you? Why not other kinds of novels?
No, I don't know where it all comes from. And that's the literal, unvarnished truth. I don't know where it comes from any more than I know where the color of my eyes comes from.
Well, I can tell you
do
where
know.
that comes from.
Well, all right, that's genetically
Right.
inherited from your mother and your father. And my mother used to enjoy writing, and my father wrote a lot of stories and mailed them to the pulp magazines of the 40s and 50s, like Argosy and that sort of thing. And I guess some of them were pretty good, but I've never seen any of them. So I have a little of that from my parents, and my children have a little of it from me.
You wanted to write from an early age.
Yeah. It was what there was for me. I always did it. I always took great pleasure in it. I still take great pleasure in it. The actual act of composition. For me, the part that I don't like starts when you turn a manuscript in to the publisher. That's like you have your own private field that's full of snow in the backyard, and nobody's tracked in it but you, and you give it to them, and then they open it to the public.
You mean that whole creation is only yours, and only you know those characters, your editor, but forget that. You are the only person who's lived with them, know where they're going, what they think, how they conflict, what's going to happen to them.
And I'm the only one that has an opinion on them. And then an editor comes along and says, well, we'll change this and that. This new one, Nightmares and Dreamscapes, a lot of the stories go back half my lifetime, actually. And So some of them were written by a very young man. And then the editor comes up and says, well, maybe if you change this or tweak that. And it's not that they're wrong. That's not what I'm saying. It's that you say, well, that was mine for a long time. Now you come in here and it's maybe too. I'm from Maine. I'm a Yankee. Maybe that's a Yankee reaction. You know, leave my backyard alone.
Do you create characters you like?
Usually I do, but I don't always create characters that I like. Sometimes I create the sort of characters that I'm afraid of. When I was a kid,
you're afraid of?
Yeah. When I was a kid, there was a guy who, maybe the first of the modern serial killers. He was a guy named Charlie Starkweather.
Right.
And
he was the guy off the Texas
right,
tower.
Little bandy. No, that's much later than this. Starkweather was in Nebraska, and it was in the 50s. And I had a scrapbook. I cut out all these clippings of him, and my mother found this scrapbook. It was 57, so I would have been about 10 years old. And I think she decided right then and there that not all my wheels were on the road anymore. And she
Your
said,
elevator was not going to the top floor.
She said, why are you interested in this guy? And because I was only 10, and what articulation I had then went into the stories, and it really still does. I'm a much better writer than I am a talker. What I was not able to tell her was there was one picture of this young man who killed these people, and what there was in his eyes was nothing at all. I mean, vacant rooms, depopulated planets, there was nothing. And what I was not able to tell her was, I need to look out for this guy. I need to know everything about him so that if I ever meet him or anybody like him, I can go around. And in my fiction, when I've created characters like John Rainbird in Firestarter or George Stark in The Dark Half, some of the real bad guys, I'm telling myself, reminding myself, look out for these guys. These guys are dangerous, and they're really out there.
But when you were, how old did you do this? This is when you were 9?
I was about 10.
Yeah. Now, did you try to write anything then when you were 9 and 10?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and a lot of it was the sort of stuff that I write now. There were horror stories, fantasy stories. See, I grew up on a diet of, let's say, the sort of comic books that kids weren't really supposed to read, like Tales from the Crypt and The Vault of Horror and that sort of thing. One of the earliest stories that I remember my mother reading my brother and I was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So you see, I was warped from an early age, but the idea that this sort of thing, you know, somebody will sort of want to discuss your books if you write what I write, and they'll sort of sidle up to you and say, by the way, what was your childhood like?
Of course they do.
But mine was perfectly normal as a you know, a general case.
Back to the question I asked about what kind of books do you write? Do you compare yourself with no false modesty to anyone? When you look back, who would you like to be compared to? Where do you put your work?
Generally, once it's done and bound and in a book, I put it on the shelf and forget it
or send it to Hollywood
and
say, send the check.
Yeah. There are writers that I like. Yeah. There are writers that I admire tremendously, and there are writers whose styles have helped me at various times that I've sort of taken into my own mix and tried to make a part of myself. I think that writers, when they're forming, are like what my mother always used to say, milk in the refrigerator takes the flavor of whatever's next to it, you know, so that as a kid, if I read a lot of H.P. Lovecraft, I'd write like Lovecraft. There are a couple of pastiches in the Nightmares and Dreamscapes, the new book. There's a Sherlock Holmes story that was written as part of a competition at a mystery weekend in Mohonk in upstate New York. And there's also a Chandler-esque Philip Marlowe hard-boiled detective story because I admire that style tremendously. You know what I like? I don't necessarily want to be compared to anybody.
No, but just tell me who, you know, because there are people, the reason I asked the question, there are many who say, and this is complimentary to you, look back years from now, we'll look back at what Stephen King was writing, and we'll see you in a very different way as the audience who loves you so much and buys 150 million copies sees you. They may very well be responding to these sort of base emotions of a great story, first of all. I don't think that you would sell unless you tell a great story. I assume that you believe that as well. And
hey, if they remember me at all, I mean, it's it's amazing when you think about it, the writers who come and enjoy tremendous popularity and sort of disappear so that you find their works on back shelves in hotel suites or in, bargain barns in New England. If I could write one book, let's say, in my genre that would be remembered the way that Dracula has been remembered. I love the idea of the novel Dracula because it's shameless pulp fiction, and it's melodramatic, and it has a lot of things in it that critics consider to be vices, and yet it's enjoyed its own life.
It stood the test of time.
That's right.
Yeah. And do you believe yours will stand the test of time?
Boy, I'd like to think so, and I think some of it has a chance because horror fiction, as a general rule, lives its own guerrilla life, so that sometimes it's the kind of thing where one kid will tell another, have you read this? And they'll go and get it out of the library. And I think that some of that stuff does have a tendency to last.
What, both on the superficial level, at the top level, not superficial, but at the very top, what is it that makes it so attractive, so it sells so many copies? Yours and others. What is it about the whatever? You don't call it horror, your work, horror. You don't call yourself a horror novelist for whatever reason. You just said suspense. But it's okay. I'm not suggesting you're putting it down.
Right.
You're not. But what is it that grabs an audience at the first level?
Forbidden. Something is forbidden. So you're saying to somebody, come with me and I will say things to you that nobody else will say. And I will show you things that nobody else
that are so horrible to imagine.
Show to you. That's right. And again, it shares the same attraction as comedy, which says the same thing. Comedy humor says, comedy humor. Get me out of here. I just washed my mouth and I can't do a thing with it. But a movie that's really funny, that really makes people laugh, is generally saying, I'm going to show you something that you haven't seen before. So that when Mel Brooks did Blazing Saddles back in '74 or whatever it was, and the cowboys eat beans and then sit around.
Pete Holmes with Brett Armisen.
We've been doing comedy for a while.
That's right. But what you do is so... We'll just get all the bread buttering out of the way. What you do is so pure and so silly. There's like an honesty to it, and it's playful, so it feels recreational, as opposed to, for me, like I enjoy watching it, as opposed to, I don't know, really like 30 Rock, for example, amazing show, doesn't relax me, doesn't entertain me.
Yeah, it's a little bit like a drug.
Yes, exactly. Ding, 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 ding. It's like amazing electronica music.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're exactly like Jazz, but there's something about it where I'm like, look at Fred having fun. I love Poor Leno. This is just a gush fest. But I love what you do. And
thank you very much.
We watch it constantly.
The feeling is mutual.
Well,
your stand-up.
That's incredible.
Well, not just your stand-up in your show, but also I feel like whenever we're talking to each other, you are just funny in the moment. We have some real laughs.
We did it.
You are always funny, and that's actually very. Speaking of relaxing, it's a very relaxing feeling
when somebody's funny.
Yeah, it's its own language.
Isn't that why we became funny? It's why I became funny. It's
for those backstage moments where
absolutely real show.
We could be ourselves.
Yeah. Well, that was at Largo.
Yes,
that was the first time we really got a nice chunk of time.
Yes,
and you mentioned in your email, we talked about.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with like violence improv, where you talk about what you're going to do to somebody.
Yes,
which can be really funny.
Yeah,
but it has a specificity and almost like a cadence to it that isn't found anywhere else. Where it's like I'm gonna cut your spleen in half. Like it's always like you mention the body part.
Yeah, and then it's got to be odd.
Yes, it has to be odd.
And it's just it's something it's like something that just is happening a lot in improv. And
Melissa McCarthy started it for sure.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like in Bridesmaids.
Yeah,
it was Bridesmaids. No, it was This Is 40.
No, Bridesmaids is what I remember her.
She was in the scene with Leslie Mann though, and Leslie.
No, that wasn't in it. That was cut out. No, you're remembering it wrong because that wasn't in it. It was in an early cut.
But it started a thing where people are trying to. I'm going to tear off one of your ears.
Yes.
I'm going to tear it halfway, so you can kind of fix it, and then the rest of your life, people are going to be like, "What's wrong with that fucking guy's ear?" It's like so specific.
Yeah, that was a good. These are good though.
That wasn't bad.
I gotta say that's pretty good.
I love making fun of comedy, especially when it gets you into new comedy.
Yes. You see it. I feel like I'm seeing it a lot in TV commercials. I feel
that
like
type of improv?
Not that type, but the sort of commercials where you could tell that they are improv comedians.
Yeah.
And you could tell by their delivery. You could tell by that they're just from
That guy,
those schools of.
I'm forgetting his name. He did the ads with the. He's on SNL now.
Oh, I love that. That happens to me all the time.
It's worse if it happens to you, so I won't put it to you. But his name is Blake, Blair, Blaine, Black. His name is Black.
His name is Black.
B-L-A-K. He's German. No, I'm fucking.
His name is
Beck.
Oh, Beck Bennett.
Beck Bennett. Hilarious.
Yeah.
And I think he got it from a commercial. And there was another guy that was in a commercial that was on like 3 sitcoms. He had like a real big flare up, and it was from a commercial that was very similar to the scene in Old School where Will keeps leaving the message and doing it over. Do you remember that scene?
I remember the scene. I don't remember this commercial.
Then there was a commercial that just totally took that premise, but the kid killed it. Like he nailed it. And it was in a way very similar to what you do, where it's not necessary. It's not just the words. Like the words are funny, but the performance had a certain X factor that was unfakeable. And the kid got all these shows. I'm sure he's still working. I can't remember. But Beck had that same thing.
Everyone is still working.
Everybody's fine.
Everyone's doing great.
But they figured out that improv, people have a taste for it now. And I think audiences these days care, or they're able to detect if something is natural and organic and sort of flowy.
Yeah.
You see it more in movies, obviously, because it's become mainstream to do comedy that's like what used to be weird or atypical.
Yeah, or like it doesn't have a punchline. You're sort of mumbling something under your breath.
Right.
All of a sudden. I'm wondering if...
It's called so humor.
Yeah.
It's like, Fred, do you want to meet your mom? Oh, that's your sister. So like you the punchline becomes like, well, I brought my own lunch. So
oh my God, that's so in there.
Look for so. It's
there's also a bunch of I just said that, didn't I? I just said that out loud. That when people do that at the end, there's a little bit of that, right? Like
in the 90s. I just said that. And I just said that.
And
now we're all dealing with that.
I just said something awkward, and now everyone's looking at me.
Thank you for that, Fred. Thank you, Fred.
Yeah.
Like you say something and people acknowledge it.
Yeah.
So much. Val and I just rewatched Tommy Boy.
Uh-huh.
We were like, what's not in comedy anymore that was in the 90s is, well, this is awkward. That's over.
Yes, that's done.
But in the 90s, we couldn't get enough of, well, this is awkward.
Yes.
Hey, Fred, you've put on a few.
Yes.
Well, this is awkward.
Yeah.
You look great.
You could almost call the 90s, that could be the tagline for the 90s comedy.
The 90s. Well, this is awkward.
Yeah, well, this is awkward.
We just don't find it funny anymore.
No. We got used to it.
It's kind of aggressive. Now I think we like it more when people like well, it's not like I drove here for 45 minutes and got lost on the way. So that's more internal and more self-deprecating as opposed to like, well, this is awkward. like Tommy Boy has just a little bit more bully to the humor.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, well, you're clearly a dimwit. Well, shouldn't have said that. And then he cartwheels away. Yeah. It's great, but we've changed our taste a little bit.
What else from that movie is missing now? Because I haven't seen it in so long.
Well, the word retard.
That's gone.
Retard is gone. Except in Boston.
That's gone, yeah.
I don't know if you've been to Boston recently, but retard is...
They're like...
It's going through
we're holding
a
on.
renaissance.
Do you spend a lot of time in Boston still? Or do you, no.
Yeah, did you know that's where I'm from? Yeah.
Yeah.
When I go home, I do a bit about how... their love affair with that word, which I don't like that word, by the way, but I mean, we just said it a bunch.
Yeah.
It's in Tommy Boy. Like he's doing David Spade is doing the announcement and he's like, if you don't know how to do your seatbelt, ring your call button and I'll come by and hit you in the head with a hammer because you are a retard. That's the joke. And we're watching and we're just like, whoa! Like it's just like so, we're more sensitive, thankfully.
And I guess that's just the nature of, I'm just guessing how over the decades of how comedy and movies are. It's just
well, there's always a word that's just almost on the line.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I see people get away with a lot of offensive words.
Yeah,
and every generation has a word that's like there's kind of a way to say it.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
and maybe in 10 years it'll be completely gone.
Yeah,
but for now you can kind of say it.
Do you ever think about what people of a generation are going to sound like? I'm not talking about stand-up, but in regular conversation, trying to be funny, when we're going to start sounding old.
Oh my God, I think about that all the time.
Because sometimes it happens when you see someone older and they're just trying to be funny. They're just saying a little something. And
Gene Wilder, and you're just like, why does this seem old?
Yes.
It's hilarious. Or you watch Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
Anything that people are like, it holds up. You're like, it always feels. I just watched the Gilda Radner documentary, and I thought she's very funny. Obviously, that is not up to question. But like, comedy has learned so much. Even when I watch The Greats, we've all been. They're like prequels.
Yes,
we've all been. Like, she got. For example, she was the pioneer of talking about cancer.
Yeah.
But now when we live in an age where Tig got a cancer diagnosis and did like 45 minutes of improvised stand-up and like talked about it in real time, obviously she probably we all learned from Gilda's bravery.
Yeah.
But when you go back and watch it, it's like watching the old Star Wars and trying to convince a kid, like, no, this is as good as Rogue One.
Yeah.
And it is to us, but like, people keep changing, and we're going to change.
Yeah.
We were just talking today about how like Judd's kids don't know who Eddie Murphy is. You know what I mean? Like, why
that just keeps going.
Isn't that crazy?
It is always crazy.
And we're going to set, like, what we're making fun of or talking about, people are going to be like, oh, like that sort of Fred Armisen, like Portlandia, like, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, it'll seem stupid, and there'll be a new, maybe not, but there'll be a new thing.
I take no offense to that.
That they're like,
you're correct.
He doesn't even go psych or something like
whatever the new thing is.
There'll be a new thing.
Yes.
And there's no resisting it. But you've been doing comedy for long enough that you've had to adapt and change.
Yes.
Have you noticed, like, when you wanted to do something on SNL, like reading the newspaper and there's nothing on the cards, or any of the improvised things, that the songs that you would sing with Kristen or whatever, was there more resistance to that at the beginning, and then later it was like, no, that's clearly people like that?
Oh, do you mean resistance from the producers and the audience?
Yeah.
No, I was very lucky in that they were supportive from the start.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Because that seems like the perfect use for me of live TV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If SNL gets criticized for anything, it's people looking at cue cards, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, to do that is really risky, and kind of brings it back to that original conceit that it's just happening in the moment.
Yes.
And you don't know where it's going. But kind of what we were saying about how that's even found its way into commercials.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to hear that they were open to it. Maybe not surprised, but pleased.
I think it would have been Mike Schur, who was the head writer for...
Thank you, folks, for listening. Tune in next week for more podcasts of all podcasts.
Red Hot Chili Peppers? With Tear.
This is my time, this is my tale. I can see clearly now that this is not a place for playing solitaire. Tell me where you want me. This is my time, this is my tale. Coming on strong, Borderland. Seems to me like all the world gets high, but when you take it down, let it rise before you. This is my crime. All in all, and I'm loving every rise and fall. The sun will make, and I will take breath to be sure of this. In the end, and then all will be forgiven when surrender rises high, and I gave what I came to give. Say it now, because you never know. Devil may cry, devil may care. The Steelers got her screaming, now I know just why. When she's moving in, can you feel the voltage? never know.